Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Welcome to PGS Award Ceremony for the third quarter of 2019 under the theme Celebrating Our Own. My name is Vinita Andrew and I am the Human Resources Manager attached to PGS, and I will be the MC for this afternoon. Firstly, I will introduce the members of the head table. From my extreme right, Mr. Zaman Kudratali, and he is our Chief Accountant and Company Secretary. We then have Ms. Glennis Prophet. She is our Assistant Administrative Officer. To her left is Mr. Joseph Bob. He is our Chief Administrative Officer. To his left is our Chief Security Officer, Mr. Paul De Freitas. To his left is our Managing Director, Mr. Sean Kirkpatrick. And we have a special guest this evening, Dr. Sayan Chakraborty. He will be our guest speaker. We then have Mr. Wasim Khan. He is our Public Relations Officer. As we celebrate our own, we will be awarding employees this evening for exceptional good performance over the last quarter. I want you to applaud as loudly when they come to receive their award, and I want you to be on your best behavior as usual. Can I get that from you? Thank you. I would like to acknowledge the presence of 3 police officers, Ms. Jennifer Small, Ms. Sharon Ferguson, and Ms. Yolanda Kippins. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Monet Harry, and she is from the Cancer Institute of Guyana. Ms. Leach from SASOD, Mr. George Thingaki from KEL, Mrs. Jennifer Lewis, Mr. Williams from GPO, Ms. Jagna Ryan from Kitty Health Center, Mr. Keon Hector, Fidel Basir, and Paul Basod. These are the 3 persons who will be doing the video, photography, and audio. Thank you for coming this evening. I will now invite our Managing Director, Mr. Kirkpatrick, to give the opening remarks. Please help me welcome Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Welcome all. Thank you for taking time out to be here for this very special award ceremony. Today, at Professional Guard Service Third Quarterly Award for 2019, we celebrate our own. It's said that service is the vein through which the lifeblood runs. The winners here today, the men and the women who do more than are expected, who do more than just the minimum. Thank you all. For it is people like you who inspire me to do more and to be better. There are so many members of Team PGS that do so much, but you here today outshine them by your attitude and your behavior. Your dedication and loyalty sets you aside from the rest. In the third quarter, we excelled and once again proved that we get the tough jobs done. Our members banded together to get through some tough times. Our visiting inspectors did more than the usual, as did our shift commanders. And our CIT teams persevered. I remind you all that the last quarter is always demanding. Crime may be on the increase, as we've seen recently with the gunning down of the gold miner, the businesswoman who was shot on the East Bank, and the robberies on Regent Street, which have all made the social media rounds. And this may continue well into the new year. So I advise you, report all suspicious activities in or around your locations. Remember, we have our Jaguar Armed Response Team on 24-hour duties to respond to all emergencies as well as the usual teams. Remember what old people say, prevention is better than cure. Don't wait for something to happen. Report your suspicions immediately. Look out for things or people out of place. Know your surroundings and report the little problems before they become too big to handle. Look out for hazards while patrolling. Even if it might not affect you, it may cause harm to someone else someday. In October, GAPSO celebrated Security Officer Appreciation Day. At Professional Guard Services, we appreciate our team members every day with incentives, insurances, time, training, listening to your concerns, and working towards solutions with our clients. Creating a safe environment for Team PGS and for our clients. Making it safe for business with our 360 degrees of protection. Road Safety Month was recently celebrated, and a few members of Team PGS took part in the 5K walk to raise awareness. Remember this. Everybody is everybody somebody. And we need to share the road responsibly. A few days ago, 5 people were killed on the East Bank Highway in one of the most gruesome accidents I've seen in a while. Imagine if it was someone you knew. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And thank you all who spent the time making this venue, the Kirkpatrick's Catering Gathering Room, look so pink. I won't say much about breast cancer, but if you think you're at risk, get tested. Take the advice of your doctor, of the doctor who's here, and he will tell you more. On behalf of the board of directors and the entire management team, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year, as I may not see some of you before then. We will have to work harder and longer hours to take care of our clients, In closing, I would like to leave you with the following thoughts. In order to succeed, we must first believe we can succeed. In order to succeed, we must first believe that we can succeed. I believe in you. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of the presentations. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, MD. Just some takeaway from that. Prevention is better than cure. Know your surroundings. Report any suspicion. The team at PGS is ever cognizant of the efforts the personnel in the medical field make in promoting awareness of the ailments that affects us. October has been recognized as the month of awareness for breast cancer, and persons were encouraged to show their support in the fight against cancer by wearing pink, hence Pinktober. PGS supports raising awareness and the fight against cancer. Our guest speaker is Dr. Sayan Chakraborty. He is from India. Dr. Chakraborty is currently a medical doctor and clinical oncologist at the Cancer Institute of Guyana. He speaks 5 languages. He is trained and qualified in oncology and radiotherapy. Who is more fitting than enlightening us more about the issue of cancer than the doctor himself? Let us welcome Dr. Chakraborty, our guest speaker for this evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. First of all, I'd like to thank Professional Guard Services to have us from the Cancer Institute today evening. Well, without much ado, I won't be taking much of your time. So let's start it that way. As we all know that this month of October is often celebrated as the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Why from the Cancer Institute or why other institutions in Guyana are so much concerned with breast cancer and cervical cancer? The reason most of us do know that breast cancer and cervical cancer are the 2 most common cancers in women in Guyana. And not only that, they are the most common killers, cancer killers in Guyana amongst women. When we speak of breast cancer, we usually say that breast cancer is of women. Well, that's a little bit of misnomer. Breast cancer can also occur in men. About 1% of men, that means 1 patient among 100 women can be a man who is suffering from a breast cancer. Now, why do we say that awareness means taking a cue from Mr. Kirkpatrick's presentation, prevention is always better than cure? It is unfortunate that breast cancer is on the increase. It's unfortunate that breast cancer kills a lot of women in Guyana, but fortunately enough that we can actually combat breast cancer with awareness. What is awareness? Awareness is the knowledge. What is screening? Screening is the tool. So with the knowledge that how to adapt to the screening, we can actually effectively combat breast cancer. What we have to do is that any lady who is 40 and above should be undergoing a test called mammogram or sonomammogram, which is done on a daily basis at the Cancer Institute, which is a 5 to 10 minutes process in which we take an ultrasound and the X-ray of the breast so that we can detect any undetectable lumps in the breast. Because whenever it comes to cancer, its early stages, when it's detected in the early stages, the prognosis of treatment is always better. This particular test has to be done only once a year. It's not done every month or every day or every week. Once a year, everybody who is above 40 can go any day to the Cancer Institute with an appointment, go in or walk in, do an appointment, and can go ahead and do the mammogram. Most of the lumps in the breast fortunately will come to be non-cancerous. But sitting at home, we never know that the lump is cancerous or not so. My second point of emphasis would be cancer of the cervix. Cervical cancer is also the common cancer amongst women in Guyana. It kills a lot of women. In cervical cancer, the method of screening is called a pap smear. A pap smear is a 5-minute OPD, outpatient department procedure, which does not require any hospital admission, not associated with pain, can be a little bit of discomfort. It's taking a swab from the vagina and the lower part of the womb opening into the vagina called the cervix, putting it on a slide and looking at it in the microscope. It is a very effective test not only in detecting cancer of the cervix but also in detecting precancerous lesions that has yet not grown into cancer but has the propensity to go into the cancer in the next few years. It can detect both of them. So again and again, we are doing these tests regularly at the Cancer Institute, and I would actually urge every lady who is in the reproductive age group to go ahead and go do the cancer of the cervix screening. For women over 40 and 40, they should be doing the mammogram, sonomammogram at least once a year. And definitely we shouldn't forget those people whose mother, sisters, siblings had breast cancer. They are at a higher risk. Their breast cancer screening should start by the age of 35. And I would actually urge everyone who are right now here not only to keep the message to yourselves but also to spread around you so that we can reach the message to almost everyone who are present here and around us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sayan Chakraborty. PGS will be hosting a health fair on November 1, 2019. Teams from the Cancer Institute of Guyana, National AIDS Program Secretariat, Kitty Health Center, Ophthalmology Department of the GPHC, St. John's Ambulance Brigade, Guyana Red Cross, and other agencies will be on board. Employees are asked to make full use of this opportunity. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Administrative Director, Mrs. Melanie McDork, and Mr. Ian Kirkpatrick. He is the man behind the delicious food we will have later in the evening. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of our work-study students. These students would have completed work-study with 6 weeks of work-study with us during July to August of this year. Cash Crew Commander for the quarter, Amita Beard. Ms. Beard joined PGS in November of 2011 as an armed sergeant after having left the Guyana Defense Force. She was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. After consistent good performance, she was then promoted to Deputy Cash Crew Commander and subsequently Cash Crew Commander. She is an ardent team player and a committed employee. Deputy Cash Crew Commander Zamani Archibald. Mr. Archibald joined PGS in August of 2018 as an armed sergeant. He was trained extensively by PGS. Coupled with the knowledge and experience from the Guyana Defense Force, he was promoted to Deputy Cash Crew Commander. Bank and Factory Shift Commander, Shemroy Augustus. Mr. Augustus joined PGS in March of 2015 as a security officer, having little or no experience in security. Through application, he was promoted to LT. His consistent willingness to learn and the dedication to the job allowed him the opportunity to be promoted to Bank and Factory Shift Commander. Deputy Bank and Factory Shift Commander Alvin Edmonds. Mr. Edmonds first joined PGS in 2008 and later rejoined in February of 2019 as Deputy Bank and Factory Shift Commander, where he has shown great persistence and dedication to his work. Inspector Samuel John. Prior to joining PGS, Mr. John spent 20 years with another security service. Inspector John can be relied upon to produce results instead of excuses. Thank you, Mr. Joseph Bob. We will now invite our Procurement Officer, Mr. Rajendra Ramprasad, to assist us with the next batch of presentation. First Lieutenant Gladwin Boucher. Sorry, he's not here. Armed Sergeant Colin Ward. Mr. Ward first joined PGS in 1999 as an armed sergeant and later rejoined in March of 2017. Baton Sergeant Jim Bell. Ms. Bell joined PGS in 2016. She later rejoined in June of 2018, as a Baton Sergeant. Delta for the quarter, and Delta is driver. Mr. Drummond Durant. After joining PGS in October of 2015, Mr. Durant has been recognized for his consistently high performance through previous awards. Thank you, Mr. Ramprasad and Ms. Shavir. We will hear from Ms. Sylvina Cornelius. Ms. Cornelius joined PGS on December 19, 1988. She has completed over 30 years of service with PGS. She retired in August of this year. Please welcome Ms. Cornelius as she tells us about her journey at PGS.
Thank you and good evening. Good evening to one all, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, my name is Sylvina Cornelius, a retired rank of PGS. I must first say how happy I am for the 28 years I spent working with Professional Guard Services. My journey began at PGS in December 1988. In those times, wages were hard-won but small. In 1992, with new ownership, PGS had great changes, such as salary increase, better facilities, and working hours. Within that time, I have achieved and grown in many ways, from being able to own my own home, to educate and elevating my children, who today are able to contribute to Guyana in the fields of arts and education. One of my most life-changing moments on the job was in the early 2000s. 15 years plus in the job. I was on my location at Site 90 at the time. It was in the wee hours of the morning when I heard a rain of gunfires. My heart left my body and I went running for cover under a nearby stage. I lay flat on the ground and radioed 2020 for backup. It was the famous Dalmore shootout that lasted for more than 2 hours. To this day, I still thank God for that I am still alive, unarmed. The reason for this day, I must still thank God. Yes, unarmed. The reason for that is because I was alert and I had the time and I had the protection of Team PGS. With that, I reinforced PGS mottos: stay alert, stay alive. I remind you that you never alone with PGS. 360 degrees of protection. With that, I conclude my thanking PGS for 28 years and wish the company years for continued prosperity. Once again, thank you and have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Ms. Cornelius. Ms. Cornelius was a dedicated and committed employee. She stuck with us through thick and thin. We wish her a long and happy retirement. PGS is focusing heavily on staff development. This year, we have introduced 2 new training programs. One is the Road to Inspectorate training, and we have completed 2 batches of that training. We are currently pursuing the driver's training, where we teach people to drive our trucks. Persons who are interested in any of these trainings, and that is employees who are interested in any of these trainings, please contact myself or any member of the HR department to indicate your interest. As we continue with the presentation of awards, I will invite our Administrative Director, Mrs. Melanie McTork, to assist us. Corletta Delph. Bhagwandat Sugrim. Thank you very much, Mrs. Matur. I will invite our Chief Security Officer, Mr. Paul DeFreitas, to assist us with the next set of awards presentation. Special awards for Faith Pollard, Latoya Holler, Clayton Mitchell, Thank you, CSO and Ms. Shavir. As we continue our program, and we are still celebrating our own, we will hear from Mr. Wasim Khan. He has been quiet this evening. Mr. Khan is our Finance and Public Relations Officer, and he has been with PGS for 19 years. Please help me welcome Mr. Khan as he tells us about his journey with PGS.
Thank you very much, Ms. Andrew. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 2 years ago, we started this particular team that every year in October, when we have our third quarter ceremony, we will do celebrating our own. But I did not cater that it will come back to me to stand here and reflect on the time spent at PGS. If anyone knows me, they'll know that talking about myself is something I really don't like. I would answer all the questions, but to say about myself, it's a challenge. So pardon me if I stumble a little, but this has been quite an interesting experience for me to sit and to reflect over 19 years of service in a company that I joined when I was just 23 years old. In the year 2000, there were lots of anticipation already in 1999 of what would happen in 2000. The turn of the new millennium, the world was supposed to stop working. But for me, it was a good and promising year for me. It was a life-changing millennium for me. 2 things happened in that year that would change the course of my life. One, in August of 2000, I proposed to and I got engaged to the woman who is now my wife. And then in September, well, I'll have to take you back a little. In September, Sean Kirkpatrick, who is now the managing director, came to visit me at my then place of employment. I was working at a store on Camp Street as the manager for the store. It's a family-run business. And of course, you'd say, why was Sean coming to visit me? But the thing is, we go further back than PGS. Myself and Sean met in 1989. And we've known each other since then, which is more than half our lives. And so I've come to know the Kirkpatricks for that length of time. Yes, we both that old. So being friends from school, he normally would drop in to visit, see how I'm doing. And I myself had challenges at the store. I was once robbed at knife point in my car. And of course, my friend was there to back me up. I remember having PGS security at the door of the store for a week to ensure that, you settle back in and what have you. So Sean has always been a friend that looks out for me, and likewise. So he came and he said that he was being promoted and his position as collector was opened or going to be open. And if there is anyone that I know is interested. Well, working at the store is not easy job. You have no holidays because you work whenever it's Valentine. And as a young man, Valentine is an important thing. And Christmas and all the holidays, you have to work into the wee hours of the morning because that is the service industry. That's what you do. And then you work on Saturdays and Sundays throughout the Christmas time. So yes, I was looking for something new and challenging, something that would really fit with what I was looking for. And so I took the offer. I told him I was interested, and I came in to have an interview. And I met Mr. Wark Kirkpatrick. And I say Wark Kirkpatrick because Sean's dad, I would have known him as Sean's dad. But now I'm meeting him on his turf. And who knows Mr. Kirkpatrick knows security runs in his blood. May his soul rest in peace. He was a delightful man. And the day when I met him in his office, he really blew my mind in terms of how he operated. He sat at his desk with a phone, a radio set, communications with the duty room, and run that company from that desk. He knew you would hear calls coming in, radio messages coming in, and he was on top of his game. Mr. Kirkpatrick had a very, very sharp mind, and he always planning ahead. When you walk into the door, he 2 steps ahead of you. So it was impressive. We had the interview while he was working, because who knows him as well knows he don't stop for anything. He could do 2-3 things one time. So, and afterwards he went out for lunch, which was a good start. I was informed, of course, he'll have to discuss it with the directors. And so it ended at that. Then I got a call that the job is mine. And so on October 2nd, I reported for duty at headquarters, which is Sir Brianville. 19 years ago, I hit the road with my car and radio set. There was no cell phones, so of course if I'm on the road with Mr. Kirkpatrick money, he would want to know where I am. So he armed me with a radio set, and I would be in the bank some days that you would call in 10-4, but there's no volume to turn on, it has to be open. But those were fun times. And of course on the radio, you would all have code name. Mine is and still is Voyager, which is basically what my work was, to move around to all our clients and create that relationship. So I hit the road, and here I am. I was given an opportunity to now network with people from all types of businesses and organizations. Some are still with us, like Caribbean Airlines, National Minin, Citizen Bank, Farfan and Mendez. And some are not, or some are no longer in operation, like Baggins Drugstore, Barama, and the Cuban Embassy. The networking I began to make through PGS offered me lots of exposure, an opportunity to learn and make lots of new and lasting friendships. Exposure to people and circumstances forced my own growth and development. My communication skills began to sharpen, and my posture began to steer me in leadership roles in my life in and out of PGS. I was elected vice president of my Students Association, and then went on to being president. Today, I sit as chairman of the school board, and I owe part of this to the development at PGS. My personal growth was equally important, and so I continue to feed that And to this day, PGS continues to encourage and support all who wish to develop themselves through internal and external programs and trainings, which I continue to take advantage of because it's a changing world and we need to stay ahead for self and for company. And of course, you would have noted that Ms. Andrew noted about the 2 new programs introduced this year in terms of training. In 2001, reality hit in terms of the seriousness of the industry I was working in, when one of our officers, the late Donald Headley, was murdered by criminals while on duty at Bargain's drugstore. But we rise above this as a team, and so did his family. I say his family because I am happy to see that Donald's son, Mr. Headley Jr., recently joined PGS and is stationed at Republic Bank as a lieutenant. For me, this is testimony of the human spirit and the belief and trust that people have in PGS, including myself. In 2002, I could now take my own vacation because I'm a big boy and I'm earning enough. And so mommy and them can't pay for you, you're paying for yourself, so you can go where you want to be. So, of course, this vacation has to be as significant as the fact that you can do it. So after the Big Apple, I went. And this is 2002. So the question on everybody's lip was, you coming back? Well, I'm here still, right? So that answered that. The next bold step for me came in August of 2002, when I made good of my promise and got married to my wife, or my now wife. We've been married for 17 years. We are both working, and we have together built what we have today in terms of our accomplishments. I cannot stand here and take full credit. She has supported me and worked even and straight with me for our accomplishments. My parents and siblings, migrated shortly after I got married in 2002, August. They left in September. And of course, they would advise and support from a distance. But someone close is always needed, especially for a young married man looking to make his way. And so of all the impactful relationships I made at or through PGS, the most valuable one was with my boss, the late Dougal Kirkpatrick, who would now grow to become my friend, my mentor, and my ally. The person who would guide me through decisions and support my future development. In 1994, I got my first car. I changed it twice before I came to PGS. And in 2005, with the guidance of Mr. Kirkpatrick, I was able to walk into an auto dealer and purchase my first reconditioned car, through the bank, of course. But the company's credentials stood firm, which made it easier for me as an employee to secure a loan from a bank at a very young age. In 2010, I lost my dad on Christmas Eve. It was a challenging time for me, grappling with grief. And then in early 2011, I was diagnosed with a slip disc in my lower back, which required spinal surgery. I had completely lost feeling in my left leg. PGS stood firmly behind me, and I with my company. I worked from home and after the surgery. How? Mr. Kirkpatrick knew of the relationship that I have fostered with our clients for over a decade. And so at that point, he figured that we cannot lose that. And so he decided to support me by hiring an office assistant that would bridge the gap between me and getting to the clients. He would visit me, the office assistant that is, would visit me once per day with documents, and I would communicate the readiness of our clients to Mr. K. This went on for months until I resumed duty at headquarters. I took over my responsibilities fully, and the office assistant continued to function because PGS continued and continues to grow. We are now on our fourth personnel for that position of office assistant. 2 have migrated, 1 was promoted. Of course, you know Tejwan Pulandari or Bobby. That's how he came into PGS. And I could stand here and tell you quite a few people how they came into PGS, but I'm not going to do that because every time I do it, I feel extra old. Around 2013, CEO was thinking that the late Kirkpatrick was thinking about my future with PGS and the fact that I was getting older, and he offered me a position that would see me more stationed. But having the freedom to choose, I chose not to at the time. In 2015, with guidance from the CEO, I navigated some land dispute and came out the victor and began construction of my home. I remember visiting Mr. Kirkpatrick right here. He was not well at the time, and taking photographs on my phone to show him of my construction. The last photograph I showed him was the columns were up. I was so proud of this accomplishment, and I was so thankful for him for all his guidance and what he had done to put me on the path to get in there. Sometimes things don't go as you plan, and I would have loved for him to see the completed project. But in 2015, 2019, in 2015, on the 19th of September, we all suffered a heart-wrenching loss when our CEO passed away. 2 directors, Mr. and Mistress Kirkpatrick, departed this life in a span of 6 months. I felt it most when Mr. K passed. I had lost so much, and so had his family. This would be the most challenging time, in my view, for our company. We had to work hard and diligent to ensure we maintain our clientele and sustain the Kirkpatrick's legacy for the future and the well-being of over 300 plus families. We were tested, I would say, by the criminals when they tried to attack one of our locations. You all know of the Republic Bank incident. But we came out on top because of the dedication of our men and women in the fields. Now, in 2015, after Mr. K's passing, there of course would be some changing around. And I would not then meet not my friend's sister Melanie, but our admin director, Mistress McTurk. And the time had come for me to be more stationed. With change in my portfolio, I would now not only be responsible for the company's receivables, but also function as a public relation officer. With plenty other little thing attached to it. My responsibilities continue to expand once at headquarters, and working closely with directors really give me a chance to share in their vision for all of us at PGS. Myself and AD worked and continue to work very closely on several projects with the permission of MD, of course. Based on my experience in the fields over the years and the changing world, we would change components that would make us even more competitive on the market and beneficial to our team. Some of the areas I'm proud of that we have made changes in are our billing. We went from hand delivering every single bill to every single client 2 times a month to a click away using emails. From our paychecks, we went from issuing paychecks and having our ranks hit the bank, stand in a line to cash a check, or I hit in the bank with 18 checks in a briefcase to cash it for you because you wouldn't be nowhere during working hours, to having an electronic payroll where all of our ranks, all of our personnel can access their monies, their hard-earned dollars, at any time they want, 24 hours a day at several locations. We improved our advance and loan facilities by partnering with Term Finance, where we can offer bigger loans to our personnel, be it the ranks in the field or the admin staff, and of course, access to loans. And we also hired a handyman on staff with some many improvements in, or rather at headquarters. And I was very proud of co-chairing the reintroduction of the Occupational Health and Safety Committee, which was the catalyst for improvement or improved working condition at our clients, where our ranks take out their daily duty. Today, I continue to work towards the development of PGS. I joined and built, and I stay and grew, both here at PGS, with 2 personnel under my supervision, and in my personal life, where I sit as the chairman of the St. Joseph High School Board of Governors. And I've also started the Imperial House, of which I am the executive director of this NGO, which aims to support youth development through volunteerism and community service, the creative arts and pageantry. This dream of mine is also supported by PGS. Today, I am proud to stand here and to say that I will continue to dedicate my energies towards PGS, and I have utmost faith in the directors and the direction that we're heading, because my most trusted friend sits at the helm of the board of directors, the managing director, Mr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I wish him and the board of directors well, and I wish PGS well, and will pledge to continue to work towards our development as a company, because it is my mantra in life to leave what you met better than when you found it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan. Join, build, and grow with PGS. Although Mr. Khan is the public relations officer, he is an integral part of the HR department. We turn to him daily when we have our troubles also. Mr. Khan's story was truly inspiring. I trust that you took away a lot from his presentation, and you continue your service with PGS. Thank you very much again, Mr. Khan. Last year, we started our work-study program with 1 student. He is currently pursuing a degree in civil engineering at the University of Guyana. We continued this year. We collaborated with the St. Joseph High School, and we had three students on board this year. Of course, we are growing. These students were placed in the accounts, security, and human resources department, and they were exposed to the professional work environment. We are proud of their performance over the 6 weeks period, and we wish them all the best in their future endeavors. I will invite Mr. Khan to issue the certificate of completion to the 3 students, after which we will hear from one of the work-study students. First up, we have Mr. Amadeus Cabral. Ms. Deborah Scott. Ms. Tishana Panchu. Thank you, Mr. Khan and Ms. Revere. Ms. Panchu would like to share a few words with us.
Thank you. A pleasant good evening to one and all. I would like to say on behalf of the work studies, a special thank you to this company for you guys have given us the exposure and the experience we needed to step out into the world of work. At the beginning of our time here, Mr. Cobral, Ms. Scott, and myself were all interviewed as a normal applicant would be. We were taught the necessities an applicant should possess in order to apply for a job. Each of us were then placed in a department in which we excelled at. Mr. Cobral with security, Ms. Scott with accounts, and myself with human resources. During our time here, we have developed the various skills needed to fulfill all of our given tasks. In each of our department, we had our mentors who were guiding us along the way. You even taught us how to have fun as we did our work with our in-between jokes and our mispronounced names. We may not have been taught everything due to our short time here, but we took away as much experience as we could grasp. Over the course of our development, we have learned the true values of an officer and what this company possesses. Once more, we thank you for everything that you have given us, and we will make wise use of the experience we have taken away. Thank you very much.
We are pleased to say that we will continue with work study every year, and we are hoping that we get more students on board each year. Please be reminded of the health fair on November 1, 2019 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This will be done at our headquarters. Come and benefit from the health services offered. Some of the services include eye testing and distribution of spectacles, blood and pressure testing, HIV testing and counseling, vaccinations, CPR demonstration, etc. It has become customary for us to reward police officers for their outstanding performance at all of our award ceremony. This evening, we will be awarding 3 such officers for their exceptionally well performance. I will invite our Managing Director, Mr. Sean Kirkpatrick, to assist us with the presentation. He will be assisted by Ms. Revere. First up, Inspector Jennifer Small. Ms. Small is stationed at the Commissioner's office and is attached to his confidential registry. This inspector is hardworking, committed, and is of quiet personality, knowledgeable in the day-to-day running of the office, and works beyond the call of duty. Inspector Sharon Ferguson. Ms. Ferguson is stationed at Second in Command Operations Office. She is hardworking and committed. She works tirelessly to maintain the smooth running of that department. Constable Yolanda Kippings. Ms. Kippings is stationed at the Commissioner's office also. She performs her duties well and is an ardent worker who is always punctual, disciplined, tidy, and always willing to go the extra mile. Thank you very much, MD. For those employees who are interested in any of our training programs that we would have mentioned earlier, kindly contact myself or any member of the HR department. and indicate your interest. We have a special presentation which will be done by Mr. Wasim Khan.
Thank you, Vinita. I'd like to invite MD to the front. Miss Cornelius, retired Cornelius. On behalf of the Board of Directors and Professional Guard Services, we would like to say a huge thank you for your 28 years of service to Professional Guard Service, and we wish you every success and enjoyment in your retired years. Congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you very much, MD. As we conclude this evening's program, I would like to invite our Administrative Director, Mrs. Melanie McTurk, to give the closing remarks and vote of thanks, after which we will have our photo segment and dinner.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Vinita. Well, first of all, please allow me to apologize for being late. As most of you know, I'm usually the person sitting here giving everybody glares of daggers if we are 1 minute off of start time. So my profound apologies for being late. And as is the PGS mantra, excuses are not the same as results. So no excuses. Now, before I go to the theme itself, I do want to talk about the fact that, first of all, thank you to Dr. for his presentation. Now, there's a couple things I want to remind everybody about. At PGS, like every other security-related service in Guyana, the majority of our workers are women. Ladies, cheer now. This is not something to be ashamed of. It is a reality. And at PGS, we always acknowledge the fact that our female employees are among our most reliable, most dependable, and in many cases, most valuable personnel. What was this? Women in the room, stand up for yourself. Now, it is important to note because as the doctor said, though breast cancer can affect men, it is most often seen and is the highest killer of women in Guyana. And therefore, it is important for us all, not just the women at PGS, but the other members of our team, because we are a team and we look out for our own. That's what the 360 degrees of protection is really talking about. Because not only do we look out for our clients, we look out for each other. And I loved Miss Cornelius's example of that. She said, when them bullets start to fly, I remember my training, I call for backup. She didn't have to say after that, and backup came and I lived. We knew that that's what happened, right? Because PGS is a team. We look out for each other, we look out for our own. So, gentlemen, if you are in this room, go home and remind every woman you know, especially the ones over 40, that they do need to get checked. And ladies, I know it is a hard thing. I know, especially because of the work that PGS does, the fact that we always put our clients first, that our schedules do not always fit in with prioritizing our own personal health. It does mean you do have to take a little special moment to say, you know what, maybe it's time I get checked. And it is important because PGS is only as good as the people working for us. And you see how nice and strong Miss Cornelius is after she 38 years of work? 38 years? 30. But it's so many numbers y'all throwing at me. Right? I want to be as good as this woman when I'm ready for retire so I can enjoy it. But you're not going to get there if you're not looking after yourselves. So again, I know we've mentioned it before, but the health fair, and I would like to credit Ms. Vanita for introducing this particular activity to PGS. PGS, as far as I know, is the only security company that has a health fair. The health fair is there to try and make things a little easier for our personnel, to make sure that even if it's just once a year, you get yourself a little checkout. And I will remind Miss Cornelius, even though you're not coming to work anymore, you're still invited to come to the health fair. And PGS ranks are reminded that, if you got other family members you want to bring along with you, they're also invited. Because we are an extended family. So, just moving on from that a little bit, and to this reminder of the Join, Build, and Grow theme, and the Celebrating Our Own theme. It's not just about each individual story, but it's also about celebrating where we as a company have come. And let us remember the fact that PGS started out many years ago downtown in a one-room building by the law courts, and has since grown, and at that time was less than 100 people, and has since grown to a company that is over 300 strong. We are the only company that has been partnering consistently with SASOD to prioritize the idea that your sexual orientation does not matter to your work, your capacity to work. We are the only company, as I said, with a health fair. We are a company that offers not only medical insurance and support, but also takes the extra mile to make sure that, as many of the testimonies this evening pointed out, that when you're a member of PGS, you also have access to services that help you to look after your family, to look after your home, to build. I have always loved every time I hear the story of the PGS ranks who were able to get their house lot, build a house, put their children through school. Because that is also part of our 360 degrees of service. Because we recognize that we are only as good as the people who are in our company. And we cannot have a situation, or at least I can't rest at night, knowing that I lying down comfortable and our own ranks ain't getting paid on time, or got food to feed their children, or that's not us. It's never been us. And so I would like to take just a short moment to celebrate how far we as a company have come. And I'm really glad that Wasim mentioned, I know his story was long, but it was a wonderful story. And when Dad died, I know there was a lot of trepidation and a lot of rumors and a lot of people who didn't know what was going to come and what wasn't going to come. And even within PGS, we had oh God, change is happening. Is it for the what we want this? Guess what? We are here. We are stronger than we have ever been. And anybody who don't like that, please remember the door is always there. Because growth is constant, change is constant. And looking out for each other is a constant at PGS. So, thank you to our wonderful admin team who have brought us all this way. Thank you to our personnel on the ground who have all been part of this journey. And of course, thank you to our speakers and guests who've been with us this evening. And with those, enjoy the rest of it.